Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, May 5th. Kind of a rainy morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region ahead of a cold frontal system. That frontal system will usher in much cooler air for the overnight hours and the day on Thursday. And really we're evolving into a cooler and wetter weather pattern here in the Mid-Atlantic region. And not only the Mid-Atlantic region, but much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation will experience cool and unsettled weather for the next 10 days or so, right into the middle part of May. Certainly the continuation of cold air outbreaks for the central and eastern U.S. When I say cold air outbreaks, I mean colder than normal for this time of the year. And one of the culprits is a negative NAO. We've often talked about a teleconnection index known as the North Atlantic Oscillation. It gives us kind of an indication as to what's going on in terms of pressure and temperatures over the North Atlantic, and that in turn can have an impact in the central and eastern U.S. When it is sustained in negative territory, as it has been and will continue to be, it can result in some cold air outbreaks in April or even May into the central and eastern U.S. And you can see the forecast is at best neutral, at worst still well into negative territory, going right into the middle part of the month of May. Well, just how cool are we talking? Here we are now, the 5th of May, and again, it looks like a cooler than normal pattern over the next 10 days or so for much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. This is the total snowfall map from last night's GFS model run, the 6Z operational run. Look at this snow out across the Rockies and all the way extending out to the southwestern part of Canada. Just a very cold pattern that will result in more accumulating snow in and around Denver. The mountains just to the west will get more significant snowfall. And look at this, snow in upstate Pennsylvania and New York. Oh, again, this is a total for the next 10 days or so. Northern part of New England still gets some snow, and certainly southeastern part of Canada. So not only a chilly pattern here for much of the nation and Canada, but one that will result in some accumulating snow as we head towards the middle part of the month of May. Well, here's a surface map as we begin the day here on Wednesday at midweek, and there's a cold front just sliding through the eastern part of the nation. Again, it will usher in a much cooler and ultimately a drier air mass for the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., in the overnight hours and for the day on Thursday. But that dry weather will be short-lived as we have much more unsettled weather coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday into the northeastern part of the nation. We'll look at the reasons why over the next couple of minutes. Meanwhile, chilly air mass out across the Rockies right behind this frontal system. And again, this area extending all the way from the central Rockies to the southwestern part of Canada is in store for some more accumulating snow over the next 5 or 10 days or so. Here's the current U.S. radar loop from WSI's and telecast.com. There's a big blob of showers across the Mid-Atlantic region right now, and some embedded downpours, some embedded thunderstorms as well. And there's a threat for strong thunderstorms this afternoon into the early evening in the I-95 corridor region, for example, from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. The timing of the frontal system is not all that perfect for the highest threat of severe weather, but indeed there can be a strong, maybe even an isolated severe thunderstorm associated with this frontal passage later today, early tonight. Even without thunderstorms, there will be some downpours in the mix here over the next 6 to 12 hours or so throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. A lot of rain pushing northeast across New England, and here the blues represent areas of snow. Look at this out in the central Rockies and northern Rockies, some snow from Colorado to Wyoming to Montana. Again, there'll be accumulating snow in this area and all the way into British Columbia over the next 5 or 10 days or so as unusual chill continues right into the middle part of the month for much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. Well, let's break down the operational run of the GFS from last night's 6Z time period. Again, multiple cold air outbreaks, and when I say cold air outbreak, again, I mean relative to normal for the early part of May. Multiple outbreaks over the next 10 days or so. Here's the first one that will slide to the south and east, following the passage of this cold frontal system. You kind of see where that cold front lies right this morning. Here we saw the surface map, and you certainly can see it in this 850 millibar temperature anomaly map for early Wednesday. Warmer ahead of it compared to normal and colder behind it. Let's move forward here. Once that cooler air mass arrives, it looks like the cooler weather will stick around in the eastern part of the nation. This is now Friday morning, 48 hours from now. Still much cooler than normal from the central plains all the way to the east coast. Here we go now into Saturday morning. A brief warm-up over the Rockies, but still colder than normal here in the U.S., the northeastern U.S., all the way into Sunday morning. And look at this. By the middle part of the weekend, the latter part of the weekend, the entire northern U.S., from west coast to east coast, will be below normal for the early part of May. More cold air moving into the Rockies, and look at all the way out to Montana, stretching all the way from coast to coast across the northern part of the nation. Here we are into Monday. Let's just keep moving forward, and this is not a pleasant weather pattern. This is nasty weather for this time of the year, extending all the way. This is 1 week from now. This is next Wednesday, May 12th. Still colder than normal from the Rockies to the east coast, and that just continues even beyond that all the way into now. This is May 14th. So basically all the way to the middle part of the month of May, it looks like much of the northern U.S. will be colder than normal and unsettled as well, with snow out in the Rockies and occasional showers in the mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S. to go along with those colder than normal temperatures. Well, with the chill comes some upper level support for some precipitation certainly over the next 10 days or so. If you like it cool and wet in the mid-Atlantic region, you're probably going to like the next 10 days or so. This is the Wednesday morning forecast map, and notice here a ridge off the southeast coast, but an incoming trough of low pressure. That follows the passage of this cold frontal system. By the time we get to Friday morning, really deep heights here on the low side of normal here by Friday morning across the southern part of the Mid-Atlantic, the Tennessee Valley, all the way to the Great Lakes. This will produce some instability in the atmosphere in this part of the nation on Friday, with cold air aloft and increasingly warm, sunny conditions at the surface will cause instability. The cold air aloft on top of some decent warmer conditions at the surface steepens the lapse rate, and it may start off the day on Friday in the I-95 corridor region, for example, with some sunshine, but then you'll see some building cumulus clouds and maybe some midday and afternoon showers with cooler than normal conditions, and it continues to sit and spin really over the weekend in the northeast. This is now the Sunday morning forecast map, where we talked about colder than normal from the west coast to the east coast across the northern U.S. And look at this. We have deep, lower heights than normal across that same part of the nation, the northern half of the nation, continuing a chilly and unsettled weather pattern. It just kind of rotates around. Here we are now into Tuesday of next week. Not only is the northeast U.S. cool and unsettled, but so is the Rockies, and this could result in some more accumulating snow out in that part of the nation. And there's a ridge for a brief time moving into the eastern U.S., but at least until the middle part of the month we'll have to deal with some support in the upper part of the atmosphere for a cool and unsettled weather pattern across much of the northern U.S. Well, let's wrap up by looking at the surface forecast maps from the 6E GFS. Again, some decent rainfall today in the Mid-Atlantic region. Will include some downpours, may include strong thunderstorm or two in the afternoon and early evening. That frontal system slides off the east coast. Winds pick up out of the northwest in the overnight hours and continues to be felt tomorrow. Breezy day, Philly, New York City, D.C., cooler than normal, highs in the 60s compared to the 80s from yesterday. And it will be a dry day, a rain-free day, but that will be pretty short-lived. By the time we get to Friday, unsettled conditions return. This is the Friday midday, early afternoon forecast map. strong low pressure off the eastern seaboard, and a vigorous wave of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. Again, this will lead to unstable atmospheric condition with cold air aloft, and a little bit of sunshine in the morning could cause enough daytime heating to really steepen that lapse rate. May start off today looking pretty decent on Friday in the Mid-Atlantic region, but by midday and afternoon, the threat for showers, and these will be kind of nasty showers, a chilly, cooler than normal conditions, and unfortunately that upper level feature kind of sits and spins, continues the threat of showers on Saturday as well in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S., and it's kind of reinforced by another system as we get into the latter part of Sunday. Another soaking rain event, cooler than normal conditions for the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic region, later Sunday into Sunday night. And again, if you like cool and wet conditions in the northeastern part of the nation and across much of the northern U.S., the next 10 days will be certainly to your liking, as it looks like a chilly and unsettled weather pattern. Look at all this snow by Monday night, Tuesday morning, out across the Rocky Mountains, not far from Denver, to the mountains just to the north and west. Significant accumulating snow possible all the way into next week. That's a colder than normal air mass, and again, it continues. Canadian high pressure builds back in by the middle part of next week, but overall it looks like a cool, unsettled weather pattern for much of the nation over the next 10 days or so, right into the middle part of May. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.